NLP to be a better friend? So this month we have World Friendship Day. So I thought this would be a really nice opportunity to talk about how to really apply neuro-linguistic programming. Hi Claire. How to really apply neuro-linguistic programming not only into a professional setting or a coaching setting, but also to talk about how you can use it personally and within your friendships, whether they are, or relationships, whether they're with a friend or a good friend, family member, a partner, a love relationship. All of these things will really help you to use neuro-linguistic programming to be a better friend, but also to help understand yourself better as well. So again, if you're live with me, just give me a wave. If you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag replay. Let me know who you are and what you do. And if you've got any questions as I'm going through this, just ask, because that'll just make sure that I can help you and make sure you've got everything that you need. So I'm going to be diving into how to use NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, to be a better friend. So neuro-linguistic programming is all about how to understand yourself. I love to think about it like it's very much like neuroscience and psychology kind of fusing together in a way to help you understand yourself, how your mind works, why your mind works the way it works, how you prefer to receive and communicate information, so how you communicate effectively with yourself, with the world around you, and then how to change things that you're not currently satisfied with. So why NLP will help you become a better friend is because it will help you to truly understand how people filter information, how people behave, why people behave the way that they behave, and then how to understand that and how to communicate effectively with those around you. So we really do cherish our friendships and our relationships. They are the most important things to us. And as people and as for humanity, like, our natural instincts are for us to connect and have that connection with others and with ourselves as well. So even as we've evolved through the years, previously we used to be in groups and we used to, kind of work together in groups, and now we still have a sense of connectedness and a want to be heard and listened to. As we've evolved, it's a natural instinct. So let's dive into the ways that neuro-linguistic programming can help you to be a better friend and help you understand other people really effectively as well. So the first thing that I want to talk about is one of the NLP presuppositions, which is like a mindset of NLP, which is have respect for the other person's model of the world. Now, we have all got a different model of the world, a different version of the world. But what usually happens is we usually tend to project our beliefs and our belief systems onto those around us when they might not actually necessarily have the same beliefs or have the same thoughts about whatever it is that you're discussing. But what we tend to do is we tend not to usually take the other person into consideration, not for any reason other than it's just natural for us to communicate with people from our own perceptions. And so naturally we tend to project onto other people our beliefs, our meanings that we put to things. An example of this is our beliefs, and we do this especially in friendships and relationships, our beliefs and our perceptions of happy, right? So let's take happy for an example. Now, often in relationships, what we tend to do is we project our version of happy onto the person that we're communicating with, when actually their perception of happy can be very different. And we tend to do this a lot in love relationships as well, especially because we have this perception of happy and what happy should be. And let me give you an example. So my version of happy and my perception of happy is like, I get excited, I like have a big grin, I actually move around, I can't keep still when I'm happy. And excited for me is like happy and like movement and motivated, and all of these things for me mean happy. Now, for my husband, his meaning of happy is different to that. So his meaning of happy and the way he does happy is different to the way that I do happy. But previously, I used to project my happy onto him and then wonder why he wasn't happy. But it's not that he wasn't happy, it's that he doesn't do happy in the same way that I do it, right? And how it's mind-blowing when you think about it. How many times have we done this where we've projected onto the other person how they should be, how they should act, what they should be doing, what they should be saying, how they should be feeling, based on our own version, our own internal perception of that thing. And actually, they may be actually doing their version of happy. It's just that we can't perceive that. We can't see that because it's not our version. So understanding that everybody has a different model of the world, because everybody's been brought up differently. Everybody has different meanings to the things that they do, like happy, for example. And we all have different belief systems, different values, different perceptions, different versions of reality based on our own model of the world. So when we accept and acknowledge that everybody has a different version of the world, a different model of the world, and everybody sees things differently, everybody perceives things differently, everybody acts and behaves differently based on their model of the world. And when we accept that and don't try and change other people's model of the world, because you're not going to ever know what fully their model of the world is, because you're operating from your model of the world and they're operating from their model of the world. So just having an acceptance that you will respect other people's model of the world will help you be a much better friend, and help you build stronger connections with people, because you're not constantly projecting your versions of, example, happy onto other people. You're just allowing them to be, and allowing them to be who they are, and you're then just being yourself, and that's it. There's no need to project anything onto anyone else. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is understanding that everybody communicates in a different way. So some people prefer to see things, some people prefer pictures, other people prefer to hear things, like prefer to be spoken to. Some people prefer to feel things, like, or like have things to, I'm picking up a book here, have things. And some people prefer to have, like, to process things in a certain order and sequence. Now, when we listen for the person who we're communicating with, so whether it's a friend or in a relationship, or you're just communicating with anybody in general, when you understand this about yourself, this is so helpful, because when you understand if somebody prefers to see things, hear things, feel things, or like go through things in an order and sequence, you will be able to then communicate with them in the way that they prefer to be communicated to. Often, if people say things like, oh, it just felt a bit off, or let's say you're on a first date, or you're out with your friends and they're just not feeling quite right, and there's something just not quite sitting right, usually it is because you're kind of missing each other on the communication level. So you're communicating to them in one way and they're communicating in a different way. So let's say, for example, you prefer to see pictures and they prefer to hear things, and you're communicating with each other in the way that you prefer best. It's quite common, especially if it's like a first date or a first meeting or something, that you're going to miss each other because one of you is communicating in one way and the other's communicating in the opposite way, and it's not quite sitting quite right for each other, for you to be able to get each other. That is basically what it is. You don't get each other. So it's really helpful to understand and listen, and you can listen by listening to the words that people are using. So let's say somebody likes to see pictures more or prefers visual things, then you'll be able to pick up what words they're using. So pictures, see, what it'll look like. They'll talk about what things look like. And if it's auditory, they'll talk about what things sound like and the sound of things. And if they're kinesthetic, which is feelings, they'll be talking about how things make them feel and using words that describe feelings. And if they like to order and sequence in the process of things, they'll be talking about if things make sense. So when you understand that, what you can do is you can make sure that you feed information back to people in the way that they prefer to be communicated to. And so this will really help you, especially if like your friend's going through a hard time, or if they just want someone to talk to. It'll really help you to make them feel heard and seen and felt in a way that they feel like, you're really there for them and you really get them as well. That leads me really nicely onto understanding somebody's love strategy. So in our neuro-linguistic programming course, I teach about how we all have an order and sequence of everything that we do. So everything that we do, me getting up in the morning, making dinner, making a cup of tea, making a coffee. Mine's usually a coffee. We all have an order and sequence in which we do everything. It's called a syntax, right? So every single thing that we do, always everything we do is done in a certain order and sequence of actions and behaviors, right? So in the context of love strategy, everybody also has a certain order and sequence that helps them know that they are loved or helps them feel loved, right? And so when you understand your friend's love strategy, some people, like this also ties really nicely in with the C, feel or hear or process. So some people like to be bought things and given things or given presents or shown love. Other people prefer to just be told that they're loved or that told that they're needed and wanted. So if we're talking about this in the context of friendships, so whether this is friendship with a husband or a wife or a loved one or a child or just a friend, you might not necessarily tell them that you love them, but you may use different words such as and tell them that you that you value their relationship. I was trying to think of another way to say that you love them without necessarily saying you love them. So things like valuing their relationships and telling them that as well. So some people prefer to see things, some people prefer to hear things, some people prefer to feel things. And the feeling things in this context would be like when you meet with a friend, giving them a hug. Like some people say they're huggers. Some people do, don't they? And some people say they're not huggers. That's because their love strategy isn't necessarily kinesthetic, which means like feeling things. Or it could be something as simple as like when you see them, like placing your hand on their arm, like I haven't seen you for ages, it's so good to see you, and just placing your arms around them. So when you understand your friends' love strategies, it can really help you to make them feel valued and build stronger connections and stronger relationships. Claire says, when I'm distracted from my way of doing things, I forget how to do what I'm doing. With cooking, I'll often burn myself if I'm interrupted. Right, because you need to stay focused and see exactly what it is that you're doing. Really interesting. Also, what I want to talk about is taking personal responsibility. Taking personal responsibility and empowerment as well. So this kind of ties in with what I was saying about projecting happy. Now, I do think this is important to just say that, yes, this is about how to use NLP to be a better friend. And part of that also starts with us, right? It starts with us as people. So bearing in mind and remembering that happiness is an inside job. So it's our own responsibility to be happy. Often, and I've certainly done this in the past with other love relationships that I've been in, or even friendships that I've had, where I've thought to myself, oh, well, it's their responsibility. It's their responsibility to make me feel loved, or it's their responsibility to make me feel wanted, or I've waited for other people to send me messages to catch up with me, or I've waited for other people to connect with me, or I've waited for friends. How many people, just give me a wave if this resonates, how many people have not sent their friend a message because they've not heard from them? Right? How many people have not reached out to a friend, or your friend's not responded to you a couple of times in a row, or perhaps they've just not responded to you, or perhaps they've just not messaged you, so you've not got in touch with them, and you think to yourself every now and then, you think, oh, I've not spoken to so-and-so in a while, oh yeah, she didn't respond to my message, or something like, yeah, she hasn't messaged me in a while. How many people have done that, right? So remember that we need to take personal responsibility from within, and it starts here. So firstly, understanding that happiness is an inside job, right? And what that means is it's my responsibility to take actions, follow up with my friends, catch up with them, even ring them potentially if they've not responded to my messages. I mean, because something crossed my mind then, which thought you don't want to be harassing people and constantly ringing them and texting them if they're not answering the phone or replying to the messages, but people just genuinely are busy. And what I'm talking about in the context here is if your childhood friends from school that you are close friends with just haven't responded to your message, or they haven't called you back, just pick up the phone and follow up with them again, because one, people just get busy. Two, how quick does time go? Before you know it, it's already a year has passed. right? So the key really here is to take personal responsibility to you be the one that reaches out to your friends, follow up with their messages. If they don't respond, follow up again. And it's not anything personal. So remember that, people just get busy. And that's another thing really that we should talk about, is that it's never personal. So if a friend hasn't responded to you or hasn't got back to you about something, it genuinely is because they're busy and they've not necessarily been thinking, oh, I'm not going to reply to Becky. It is just that they've probably picked up the phone, or the kids, this is what happens with me all the time. The kids have picked up the phone, saw the message, and then I've not even got the notification for it. So remember that it's never anything personal. When you don't hear back from friends, it's your personal responsibility to then do the follow-up if you are wanting to connect with them, and continue them relationships. Okay, so just to round up, we were talking about how to use NLP to be a better friend. The first thing that we spoke about was respecting that other people have a different model of the world, and being careful about not to project your version of happy onto them, because you do happy your way and other people do happy their way. The next thing we spoke about was understanding people's communication styles. So understanding if they prefer to see things, hear things, feel things, or have a process of things, so you can feedback communication in the best way for them. And also about taking personal responsibility and understanding that happiness is an inside job, and we have to take responsibility and take actions to follow through with things if people are not following up with us or people are not responding to us. It's nothing personal, it's just that life's got busy and time passes so fast. So just pick up the phone and follow up with a message or a quick call. And the next thing was about understanding people's love strategy. So do people prefer to see things, hear things, or feel things? And what way do they feel loved? Because then you can make sure as friends and in friendships, and whether this is your partner or your friend or your kids, that you're ensuring that they feel valued as a friend and they know how important they are to you. Okay, so I hope that this was helpful. I do have some free training on at the moment, Change Your Mind, Change Your Life. If you're on Instagram with me, you have to pop me a message for the link. If you're on Facebook with me, the link is in the description. Have an amazing day, and I'll catch you all soon.